the dial, turn it loud. Miami's pride, make us proud. CanesWear crew, you hear the crowd. Hurricanes ain't backing down. Every play, every score, raising bets and raising roar. Rocking orange, green galore. All for one and one for four. We got FTSN, taking names, win it again. Broadcast fam, till the end. Tune in, now let's begin.
Hello, we're live on the CanesWear podcast on the FTCN network, Finstock Sports Network live today with we've got our guests, our hosts, Brad Tejeda and Uncle Cliff are in the house, and we're celebrating a big 3-0 start for the Canes. How we doing, guys?
Absolutely, Brett. We're here at the CanesWear show. No other better place to be here on a Tuesday night talking Canes football. 62-0 against Ball State. Man, we'll get into that shortly. We got our guy Uncle Cliff as well. I'm sure Armando will be joining us shortly. Can't be with any better crew than you guys.
Absolutely.
Doing great. 3-0 feels awesome, and can't wait to get to this weekend's game and see what we have in store for the Bulls.
Yes. So we got 62-0. We beat Ball State. Obviously, we were a heavy favorite going in. We obviously, over exceeded expectations because we did beat the spread. Not that anybody would gamble or anything, but Hard Rock wants to advertise with us. We'll go ahead and promote that. But anyway, so 62-0, awesome game. First half, it looked like the running game was slow to get going. Martinez, Fletcher, but Cam Ward and the receivers just amazing. 4 touchdowns in the first half, right? 300 yards, just a phenomenal performance. Exciting as can be. I mean, everybody is just, okay, don't even hand off Cam. Just go ahead. Let's see what you got. Even heard the announcers say, since I wasn't at the game, I heard the announcers say that, I think they're just trying to highlight Cam for the Heisman because they're just not even running the ball. So what's your thoughts on the game, guys?
Cliff, you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. I thought the game was awesome from pretty much start to finish. The one thing that I like. What?
Sorry,
Jason, our guy Jason.
Jason. One of the best things that I saw, that there was no let off, no letdown again when the backups came in. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have second, third string, fourth string guys coming in and still kicking butt. It was awesome. It looked like the Florida game, but even on a much higher scale, because we just kept rolling, and no matter who went in there, they were getting sacks, they were getting tackled, special teams. They were, Allen came in and just had 2 unbelievable runs. I mean, just crazy. So I mean, little stuff like that is. I mean, you had Bryant coming in and getting sacks. You had Washington on special teams come in and just destroy a kid. I mean, that was nasty. I mean, stuff like that is just third, fourth string guys coming in there just killing it. It's awesome.
Great to see the depth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that for years. Depth, we got the first line or second line, but now we've got third and fourth. It's what Mario has been preaching, what we've been talking about. So that's been awesome. Depth is everything, because hopefully we go through the whole season without one injury or without any big injuries. But even if we do, hopefully we've got guys to step right in there, which is what all great teams do.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Brad?
I would say this too, right? To your point, all great teams, if they need to be one-dimensional and just do that one thing because that's what the defense gives them, they're capable of doing that. They're going to continue to do that because it's allowing them, right? And to your point, Brett, you brought it up at the beginning about the limited amount of rushes and rushing yards, especially in that first half. But when you go back and you look at that football game, right? We had only 8 total rushes, I believe, in the first half. But all those rushes, you look at it, they had 8 men in the box, pretty much almost every single play in that first half. So when you are stacking the box like that as a defense, you're allowing that offense to dink and dunk or throw the football. And when you have a guy like Cam Ward and the receiving core that we are starting to build, I mean, you're talking about 12 different guys caught a football in that football game. And Cam Ward was able to just do what he does and pick that defense apart to where, you only had 8 rushes, only 2 I think were over 5 yards in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
But you did exactly what you were supposed to do as far as looking at the defense's expected. You aired it out because that's what they gave you, and you capitalized on every single thing. And you saw in the second half, they couldn't stack that box. Rushing yards started to kind of, have that snowball effect. Cliff, to your point, you brought a Jay Allen who had 104 yards on 7 carries. You had Jordan Lyle with 11 carries, 71 yards. People bring up the fact about, you didn't see much about Mark Fletcher and even Damian Martinez this game. But you got to understand, with a running back room that we have, especially these younger guys that especially next year and later on, hopefully getting to that playoff run, you want these guys to get early touches and game experience now. And unfortunately, some of the good things of having a good running back room when everyone is healthy at the moment, you're able to kind of put them in a cycle where, all right, you start the game with Damian Martinez. He gets the first series. Now it's Mark Fletcher's second series. Then you go back to the same rotation. Damian Martinez again, Mark Fletcher again, right? That's your 1-2 punch. After that second series, usually if you don't have any more running backs, that's going to be your series for at least second, third quarter. Well, our guys, after that second series, they're looking at the scoreboard. We're already up 21, 28 points. There's no reason to start again with that 1-2 punch when you got 3, 4, and 5 that are just as hungry, and to Cliff's point again, that's going to bust for 70 to 100 yards in a football game. So that's what I like to see with our rushing game. And on top of that, on the flip side, your defense allowed 6 rushing yards in the football game.
Phenomenal.
A 62-0 skunk on top of that 6 rushing yards in a football game. That's the type of defense you're going to want to see. And again, we're going to talk about USF here. You want to talk about a one-dimensional football team. That's a team that really rushes the football, and that's what I like to see in defense.
So Damian Martinez carried the ball twice, I think, in the first series. And then he didn't really come back until the second half and carried it once. So he carried about 3 times for 3 yards. Fletcher came in there, obviously ran a little bit. Second half, A.J. Allen, he broke off those 2 runs for 90 yards. Let's go back to Damian. He ran 2 times and then a third. He came here out of the transfer portal. How do you think he's feeling? Did he get hurt or something, nicked up, or they just went in a different direction? How do you think that's going with him right now that he only carried the ball 3 times?
Again, like I mentioned before, when you got running backs, I think we see this time and time again, especially as Miami Hurricane fans the last few years. We think we have a stable at running backs at the beginning of the year, right? We were 4, 5, 6 deep last year. Chris Johnson, a guy that was making plays, this past game, he barely touched the field last year because we thought these other guys, Henry Parrish, Don Chaney and Mark Fletcher, ended up your 4th guy in the depth chart. And you saw how quickly he became number 1 or number 2, not because he performed well, but also because some of these other guys just weren't able to go on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, right? So you have to look at the long term of this football season. This is a team that understands, especially with Mario Cristobal, they understand that the long-term objective of this football game, and like I mentioned before, when you have a stable of running backs, those first 2, 3 series, you're going to have your carousel if it's just the 1-2 punch, right? But at that point, if you're already winning the football game by 20-plus points and it's maybe second quarter, only 3, 4 minutes in, you need to start giving those other guys 3 and 4 and 5 some looks. And when you're giving them the looks, if they're breaking for 10, 15 yards and scoring touchdowns, you might as well feed them the hand and let Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher just chill, relax, because we're going to need them in bigger games and bigger opportunities throughout the football season.
I totally agree. Welcome, Mondo.
Hey guys, how you guys doing tonight?
What are you on the runway there?
After that Eagles game last night, I don't know where I am, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was a tough game for you. Yes. We'll get into our pro football talk. I thought you guys were going to be the only the Eagles are going to be the only one to win the game. And it turned out that I had said to Brad, none of our teams are winning. And then I texted him, and then I figured, okay, the Eagles are going to be the only team to win, but you found a way to blow that.
I mean, Cowboys, Eagles, the Ravens losing at home to the Raiders. I don't think anybody on earth saw that one coming, but it was a crazy football pro weekend.
It was, but our 3 teams, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the the Eagles all went down. So we're all flying high like the Eagles, but 1-0, and now we're all 1-1, and we say, wait, we got a lot of problems. So
Yeah,
But right now, it's all about there's one team that's 3-0.
that's right, baby.
And that's the U, baby, the Canes. And you were at the game, right?
No, I wasn't able to go this past. Actually, my brother-in-law and my son were there, and as
Awesome.
they were relaying to me via text, 2 hour and 25,
Yes.
2 hours and a half rain delay, lightning delay. But
it was a sunny day with lightning. There was no
past,
lightning. I was reporting to Jeff and Ken and saying, okay, it's going to be a delay. What do you mean there's going to be a delay? There's going to be, Joe Zagacki said, I could not make the game. I would have been at the game. And speaking of the game, okay, I know we got a lot of Canes fans out there, and I know every single one of you that's in town went to the game. And I couldn't go, and obviously Mondo couldn't go, obviously, we're
right.
local. So really can't complain too much. But Cam Ward, 30,000. I just, however many people, when I saw tickets going for $2, and I was a little under the weather, so I couldn't go, but $2 on Thursday. I mean, it's like really $5. So, we've got 4 more home games to see this guy. I mean, who could be the number 1 pick. I mean, right now, we've had quarterback we've had so many great ones with Kelly and Kosar and Walsh and Erickson and Toretta. I mean, and in college, and obviously Dorsey, probably the 6th best Hurricanes in our time, George Meyer before that. But Cam Ward could be the best NFL prototype quarterback we've ever had, okay? Jim Kelly had a great career at Buffalo, but Cam Ward is special, and there's 4 more games, home games, to see him. I mean, definitely go out and get a chance to see him, because this guy is unbelievable. We may not see a guy like this for a long time. And and this team is special too. And I know in the Orange Bowl way back when we didn't draw in the 80s, we didn't draw in the 90s. For Rutgers or someone, we'd still have 40,000 and 35. So South Florida fans are like that. But but let's try. 4 games left. Let's. I know I'll be at every game, God willing, and hopefully we can sell out every game. Virginia Tech Friday night. But we're talking a little about the Ball State game. Tell us, give us your feedback on that, Mondo.
Well, I'll get to Ward in a second, but I do want to give a shout out. And yeah, with a 2.5 hour, 3 hour delay in the recent past, or even 3, 5, 8 years ago, this would have been a game that they're going to come out flat.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be intense.
Great point.
I saw a tweet of Mario grabbed the mic to try to rile up the crowd. And that tells me, and obviously the players, as you saw from the opening kickoff, the defense, that front 4, 5, 7, 8, and they're just rotating. They're not all getting 50, 60 snaps. They're just bringing fresh bodies over and over and over, and talented fresh bodies, not just anybody.
Correct.
And imagine 1, 2, 3 years from now, like Brad can speak to the recruiting more than I can, but this is going to get scary. I mean, it's only going to get better and better if you're a Canes fan, because all the hallmark of all the great teams was depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's kids right now that are probably seeing 5, 7 snaps that are probably start in any school in America.
Yep.
Their defense right now is lights out. And the young man playing quarterback that you mentioned, you can speak on the competition all you want. I get it. We haven't played Georgia, Oregon, and Texas the first 3 weeks, but he's now, through 3 weeks, the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. He's at plus 450. He started off like plus 1,500 or plus 1,200. He's the odds-on favorite.
Yep.
To win the biggest award probably in sports.
What, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, correct?
He's playing that good. He's every Sunday morning I put on ESPN, he's the lead story. He's like, did you see Ward in Miami? He's out of control. He's playing that good. Now I want to see this Saturday. Like, I mean, honestly, by reading the USF brethren on Twitter, you would think that we have no shot. We're playing the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens this Saturday night. We don't got a chance, guys.
Well, they did hold Alabama. That Alabama game was 4th quarter, right? And they were, it was like Alabama only had, 1 or 2 scores at that time?
And I know a dear friend of mine told me before the first game of the year, and of course I was maybe a little skeptical like any other Cane fan. He told me, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, and I'm not going to mention his name on here, but I know him well, our offense will score 40 to 50 every week if we don't just crap on ourselves. Let's see this Saturday on the road, but up to now, they're scary. On the offensive defense, their offensive depth, second, third tight ends, their running back room.
I love the fact they're hitting Arroyo and the tight ends now.
Yes.
Everybody said, where's the tight ends? Where's the tight ends? We're finding the tight ends.
Mhm.
And they're all getting the ball, which is great. You said what? 12 guys caught the ball.
Yeah.
So not only are they all getting the ball, Brett, but every tight end on the roster but Riley Williams has a touchdown so far.
Wow.
That's phenomenal.
That's
Riley Williams has some catches, right?
And he has some
Yeah.
catches, a lot of good catches as well.
That's phenomenal. They
and
catch more in a game now than they did all year last year, right? Which is unbelievable
Mhm.
that you can even think about that. But I love that. I mean, they're getting the ball to the backs. Chris Johnson out of the backfield. I mean,
Oh,
and
man.
he doesn't even look like he's running fast. He just looks like he's gliding. He's just right by everybody.
Yeah.
I love him out of the backfield.
You talk about guys gliding. I tell you what, not only has he been so productive on the football field, not just last year, but going into this now third year, Jacoby George, when he catches the football, he is like a gazelle out there.
Mhm.
And he's swifty. He can break off defenders. And when he's gone, he hits the jets and it's see you later, right? And I think one of the most impressive things about him, I tweeted this when I was at the game a couple weeks ago. Every game except this past game against Ball State, he has been tested in a football game where the opponent will hit him after the whistle. Whether the flag gets called or not, he does not respond.
That's amazing discipline. That's amazing maturity.
And growth.
Uh-huh.
So shout out to Jacoby George for that. But
Shout
that's
out
a guy
to
that
Jacoby.
has been huge, impressive so far for this offense. And I mean, yeah, to your point, we got weapons everywhere. And you mentioned Cam Ward. People got to realize, if you have the opportunity to go to a football game and watch this team in person, especially Cam Ward, you need to go do that, because there's all this time people preach about the greatest college football team to ever play, which was that 2001 national champion team. You saw how elite and how great that whole roster was. And guess who the quarterback was? It was little skinny Ken Dorsey. And as good as he played and operated that team, his skill level, and to your point, the quarterback pedigree, what you're looking for in the next level NFL, he was nowhere close to what Cam Ward is. And you saw it once he won that championship. If he was as elite as all those other guys, he would have got drafted first, second round as well, but he didn't. Cam Ward is a guy that, as long as he continues to do what he's doing for Miami this year, you're going to see him in New York, not only with the Heisman, but you're going to see him in New York getting drafted in the first couple picks.
And that's going to be great for recruiting. I know we'll talk on recruiting later, but that's going to be great for recruiting to have a guy like that, because just like they did when Riley had, when Oklahoma, those guys want to go back to back. USC, those guys want to be, Alabama, they want to be at a Heisman Trophy rich, a quarterback rich school. We haven't had that for so long. So that is awfully exciting. And I was glad to see Emory Williams get in there. And he had an amazing day outside of one drop, which I heard on they switched over on the ACC network, and a lot of people didn't see a few plays there. And outside, Don Bailey was going crazy that the ball was dropped by one of the receivers. I won't mention the name, but it was. Besides that, I mean, it was perfect, unbelievable game. And I saw Cam Ward talking about him after the game. It was great to see what that kid's been through with the injury. He stuck it out. He's here at Miami. That was awesome to see. I
see guys stepping up that, let me tell you, I mentioned them last week. Horton. Horton has really, really brought it this season. I'm really happy to see that with his play this year.
Exactly. What do you got, Cliff?
What we've seen this year so far out of the wide receiver room, Horton should be number 3, to be honest with you.
Horton is number 3
far.
Right now.
So
Right
far,
now,
I know
Horton
it's
is
still
number
early.
3.
And Brad made a great point with 12 different guys catching the ball this game. If I'm not mistaken, I think all 3 games we've had 10 or more guys catch passes in every game. 10 or more in each game. So that's
phenomenal. How many teams can say that? How many teams can say that? Yeah. So, and we were, we didn't let the gas off the pedal. We didn't let the foot off the pedal. We were still going strong. I didn't want to score that 69th point. I was happy that we didn't run it in, because at that point in time it's over. But 62, 31 for each half. We didn't let up. I mean, that's as consistent. So let me ask you guys, who do you think is bringing the extra set of discipline? Mario, the coaching staff, Xavier, who is obviously very much like that, or Cam? Because I hear Cam is a natural-born leader. He came in and people are following him. What do you think the biggest reason for this change in the team? Like you say on Jacoby George, what do you think the biggest reason is?
I'll say C and C, right? I think Cam is a part of it, but I think at the same time, the other C word is culture. I think it comes to a point where, again, when you're in your third year as a head coach and you're in that rebuild stage, it's that third, fourth year that really takes that jump where you really start to figure out if the guys that you recruited, the guys that you brought in, to where now it's on the flip side. Instead of it being a 50-50 percentage of half your roster being guys you didn't recruit and guys you didn't, you're at a point now, especially with the transfer portal and how quickly guys, move to other programs. 80 to 90% of this roster is now Mario guys. And you're seeing firsthand that the guys that aren't Mario guys are guys that are making huge differences still. Jacoby George, Xavier Restrepo, right? This is where you're really starting to see if what you built within, what you're instilling in every single recruit that is developing, every single player that you're bringing into the program, if they are able to adapt, learn, and also buy into what you're doing. And you're seeing that it doesn't matter if you've been at the program for 3 years, 4 years from a previous coach, or if you're a transfer portal guy that could have went anywhere in the country like Cam Ward, and he buys in immediately. He gravitates towards the culture, and if anything, he takes it up another notch. And that's what you like to see from some of these guys. And it's only going to continue to build, and we'll talk about it later about recruiting. But it's really just going to make things easier, for Mario Cristobal and his football staff moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, any final comments on Ball State before we move on?
We're the better bird.
There you go. All right. So next up is USF, and we got a couple of new T-shirts to talk about at CanesWear for this week. Beat USF shirts. So guys, we got so the game is. Let me just take a minute here to talk about CanesWear, and we've got those new from Smack Apparel Beat USF shirts. Are kind of cool because I went to University of South Florida actually, and I went so long ago there wasn't a football team. Okay, so there wasn't even a football team. I always heard we can't have a football team, and I would have been a Cane fan anyway, growing up in the Orange Bowl.
You're not the one tweeting from the USF account, are you, this week?
He's from the Barstool account.
Yeah, you're from the Barstool account here, Brent?
Where do you go? University of South Florida? He says, where is that? And,
where are you at? You're cupping your ear like Hogan. Where are you at, UM fans? Is that you?
Exactly. So, USF, they said, where's that? All the way in Broward? And I lived in Dade at the time in Miami Beach. It's like, no, that's in Tampa. Tampa's not South Florida, is it? I said, well, no. So who's the real University of South Florida? South Florida is obviously us, South Florida. The Tri-County area is South Florida. So they made that shirt. This is not South Florida. This is not South Florida. So $24.95, great Smack Apparel shirt. Wear it. Orange and white shirts for the game. Also, a couple of things at CanesWear. We've got those awesome slides that everyone's wearing. The players are wearing. We just got in 1,000 more. They're fantastic. We've got new shirts coming in. We got the new orange jersey. We got the Cam Ward jerseys. We're out of some sizes, but we got more coming in. We just did a Cam baseball jersey, which is really cool. The orange jersey that Mondo wears. It's got the Cam Ward #1 on it, which is fantastic. Where can you get that CanesWear shirt? At CanesWear, of course. By the way, Cliff and I have the POW shirt on, the original edition POW with the 5 championships, the 5 rings, and we've got that on. We've just got that in white, orange, and black again at the store. Lots of new items. We've got pallets of Adidas coming in. Lots of hats coming in. The perforator hats are coming in this week. Lots of great stuff, and we're excited. Canes just got to keep winning. Merchandise is flowing. It's all about winning. When you're in this business, guys, as I mentioned, it's like when you're winning, everybody wants stuff. If you lose a game, it's like, well, maybe I'll go ahead and paint the house. If not, so right now it's exciting. We got cheerleader uniforms or cheerleader skirts and shirts coming in for girls. We got tons of stuff coming in. So lots of exciting things happening at CanesWear in Davie or CanesWear.com. And thank you everybody for joining us. So guys, we've got USF coming up, right? Brad, do you want to talk USF first, or you got a little recruiting that you want to talk about?
No, we could do recruiting after USF. I think obviously Mondo brought it up before. I haven't really heard much about USF until the Barstool account just started chattering on it, right? That's been the most relevance that they've had until this past couple
Exactly.
played until they played Alabama, which I think, they're kind of similar to Florida fans. Like, they're hollering for losing because they were close in a football game. And I think people also got to realize that South Florida was playing a depleted offensive line group in Alabama that didn't really have much continuity, and most of their starters didn't return till after that South Florida game, when they ended up pressuring and unfortunately injuring our former quarterback over at Wisconsin this past week. But going back to South Florida, like I mentioned before with the Ball State game, one of the most impressive stats out there in a box score is holding to opponent to under 10 rushing yards in a football game and just clearly dominating 62-0, right? And that just goes to show you how great Lance Guidry and this defense is, being able to scheme guys up. And as great as, people want to talk about our defensive line group, our safeties and our secondary, it's really allowing them to really play fast and not really having to think much, because it's not allowing the quarterback to have really much time. You talk about Jaden Harris, who's really had a huge step, this upcoming year. A guy in OJ Romanes Frederick as a true freshman is starting. And not only is he starting, but he's looking like he's an effortless guy out there that is really just thinking and reacting and doing awesome. And you don't hear much about Daryl Porter, and that's a good thing, because he's literally just locking down the wide receivers and nobody's testing them. And when you look at the South Florida football team, they're very one-dimensional. They're a heavy run team. They got 3 to 4 running backs. They're going to continue to rotate, one being a former South Florida guy, and Naquan Wright. They also got Jordan. They had Jordan Cronkite back in the day, right? Now they got Naquan Wright, former South Florida guy. And as we know, with former South Florida guys, whenever they play against Miami, they're going to try to show out. And they also got a quarterback that, again, is very inconsistent in the air, but he's very aggressive running the football. That's going to be the key for South Florida. They're an aggressive style running. They have an aggressive running style approach. And when you really look at it, they're really one-sided. Like I said, you got 11 rushing touchdowns compared to only 3 passing touchdowns, where Miami's got 20 total touchdowns with a great balance of 8 and 12, right? So I think all in all, it's a base defense that I really think Cam Ward and this offense is going to be able to capitalize really quickly. And they're not a really good fundamental tackling team as well. So I think we're going to be able to do anything we want against this team once we start getting comfortable. We'll get to predictions later, but that's just my thoughts.
Absolutely. Scotty just said defense wins championships. 100% correct. Defense wins championships. The defense, the line we're seeing here, the interior line as well, it's just locking everybody down. We haven't had that. I mean, the University of Miami is probably, defensive tackle. So many defensive tackles we've had throughout the years. And now this year we're playing it. We're stopping everything. Hopefully it continues. I think this will be a great challenge because we do have that type of offense. The quarterback is going to keep it. The quarterback's going to run it. It's good for these guys to see everything out there. Just take care of business, win games, no slip ups. That's the key. What do you guys got, Mondo and Cliff?
I think you're right. I think it's going to be a good challenge for us. And I mean, in the past, I know Hurricane teams forever have had struggles with running quarterbacks. So, I'm looking, that's like the main thing for me. If I'm not mistaken, I think he leads the team in rushing. The quarterback does. So that's definitely have to have a spy on him. Other than that, I mean, I think Alabama, like Brad said, was a little bit, had some reserves in it, offensive line and stuff like that. But I think they took them lightly in the beginning. And the best thing for us, I think, that happened, that they played Bama so close. So these guys aren't going to take them lightly at all.
Correct. Jason just asked, is USF a tougher challenge than Florida?
What you think,
I don't know.
Well, that's my guy, Jason from Colorado. Shout out to him. Well, that remains to be seen Saturday night. We know, as we've seen the last couple of days, their coach has been online talking about let's pack the stadium. And it's going to be a night game. You're going to see a lot of UM fans there. It's not a long drive. USF should have a good fan base there, I would imagine. Is USF going to be a tougher challenge? We're clearly better. We're a 17.5-point favorite. Not worried.
Alabama was 33, just for the record.
What's that?
Alabama was 33 for the record. But I like being hanging low. I like hanging low. I don't want anyone to think we're at Alabama yet.
A couple more weeks. I mean, we're starting to get our due nationally because even before the season, people, rivals, you would go to all these little other chats or whatever shows. Oh, there they go, hyping up Miami in the offseason again. And it's true. Until we showed it on the field, who would believe
Off-season
it?
champions, off-season
Now
champions.
you're starting to
You're
see,
right.
oh, wait a minute, Miami's serious. You're seeing the Brett McMurphy's top 5 ranking of Miami, and you're seeing stuff now. You're starting to see national love where they're proving it now. So I like us Saturday night, obviously. Unless we vomit on ourselves, our offense speaks for itself. Our front 4, front 7, whatever you want to call it, they're going to bring the noise. Mario's going to have them ready. The OC's going to have them ready. DC, all the coaches. And as far as your question earlier about, is it culture, this and that, it all starts at the top. Like in Brett in your business, Brad where you work, Cliff also. It all starts at the top.
Yep.
It all starts with you guys. If there's no culture in place, if there's nobody directing you the right way, it's a free-for-all. It's a circus act. They're just, you see it on their play. Last week told me not because they were playing a world beater squad, but because you're in a 3-hour delay, they could have just showed up aloof and go through the motions. We'll win 27-10 and get out of here and go home. Nah, man, they played it like it was a Super Bowl. They were flying around from the first kickoff. I'm telling you, last week really told me something about this team. I think we're going to smoke USF. And then the next Friday night, you got the ACC opener against Vatech. We said it before the year. You don't leave the state of Florida August 31st through September. Yep. You get a chance to go 5-0 here.
That's a great opportunity, even though
Saturday night.
Even though we have 3 of the home games and then 2 on the road, but they're right here in Florida, which is awesome. So
exactly.
Samanda believes they're going to smoke them. I just saw something about Alabama not being good. I didn't catch that person's name, but thank you for commenting. Alabama's got quite a bit of talent. I didn't think so. I think they'll improve. They got that 17-year-old kid who's amazing. What's his name, Brad?
Talking about the
Alabama
wide
receiver. Yeah.
Talking about wide receiver Williams. Yeah, he's
So because I did see something. In one of these. As they play it out, and they've already got predictions of the final 12, and we're going to play Alabama and everything like that. So that's not. I mean, there'll be the Alabamas, the Ohio State. So it's all the teams that we don't like. Hopefully we get there. We're actually more favored right now. Speaking of points, we're if you want to bet on Miami to get into the playoffs, okay, you got to basically lay odds now. So if you don't, so you're underdogs not to get there. So right now we're favored to get into the playoffs, which is pretty amazing.
And they're actually, I believe, not that I would know, but they're to win the ACC. They're like a plus 120. They start off like a plus 700.
So I thought it was plus 4, but I agree. That's our next show.
Keep mentioning Alabama.
Degenerates and plungers is our next show.
I wanted to mention last night because last night just made me sick in maybe my pocketbook as well. But people were sleeping on Alabama. People were dismissing Alabama preseason as well. Like, of course, all-time great Saban leaves. You're talking about odds. Some people didn't have Alabama making the top 12 this year.
I agree. I did not.
You saw what the coach did at Washington.
Yes.
I mean, Alabama looks pretty nasty so far this year. I will say that. So
absolutely,
they're a team to be reckoned with as well.
I hope we get a chance to play them.
A buddy of mine is actually a big Ole Miss fan.
On week 16 or whatever it is.
I joke with my buddy preseason. It's going to be Ole Miss and Miami in the playoff. He kind of shrugged it off and laughed, but he hit me up this week. He's like, "Yo, you might be onto something here."
Well, we got fans in the comments dropping some score predictions, so we might as well drop ours right to close out the USF.
You can see them, Brad. I can't see them.
Yeah, I could see them. We got Scotty Kane with a 41-13. We got Wick Nation with 59-7.
Wow,
Let's go.
Wick Nation bringing it.
Wow, I like that.
So I'll go ahead and start it off, fellas. I got 42-14. The University of Miami taking this over. I don't think it's going to be a close one. Like I said before, I think they may get a touchdown early here and there, and maybe get one late at the end of the game after we get our 3rd and 4th string guys in possibly. But I don't see this being a close one. I think we cover the spread, and I think we end up taking over South Florida, Tampa area for the night. I'll be there, Mondo. I don't know if you'll be there.
All right, Brett.
But I'll be at this weekend's game and that Friday night against Virginia Tech. So
I'll
next
see you
game,
next
I'm in the
Friday
building.
for sure. Cool.
All right, I like that. So what was that prediction, Brad?
42-14.
And what was your prediction for the Ball State game?
What was the Ball State? I think it was 48-14 or something like that,
All right.
or
All right.
48-13. I don't remember.
I didn't
Or
hit 62.
43.
No.
I don't. I don't
So mark
remember.
that down for Brad. It was one more time.
42-14. 42-14.
42-14. All right. Cliff, what do you got?
I have 45-21.
45-21, a little closer. All right, still cover the spread.
Yeah.
So right now we're saying we're gonna lay the points. Let's go. I'm on there. What do you got?
Hey, Brett, were you just doing your Al Michaels there, referring to gambling? Is that what you were doing?
You only knew.
Until proven different, you got to stay in the 40s. So I'll say 41-17.
41-17. All right, I'm going to go 38-13. And I'm always underselling. Hopefully, I'm wrong, and it's 76-12. But I'm going to go 38-13. Obviously, we all think this is going to be pretty much a Miami roll. So 17.5. If 33.5. If Wick said that Alabama's not that good, and they were 33-point favor, we're getting disrespected here. So, but the key is last year, if you remember. Our offense seemed like, I know that's not the same team, but we were flying around. We looked great against Texas A&M. Then we played the next game. We had the most points ever for our first two games. Looking good. And then, it started to slow down. And then Georgia Tech, after the bye, we fell apart. No, completely different team. Do we feel that can't happen this year?
No, because, Brad and Cliff can speak on this. The quarterback is that good. You're talking about an A-plus guy to a C or D. Not to bash the former guy, but I was at the A&M game last year, and I walked out of it like, whoa. Then, like you, to your point, it just went downhill. I'll never understand it. The kid, not to harp on the past, but the kid just lost it. It just, Brad just alluded to it. You don't want to see that happen to what happened last week, obviously, but
yeah, I hate to see that. Once you're a Cane, you're always a Cane.
No,
I see people bad about.
Yeah, this team right now is locked in. Offensively, defensively, special teams, coaching. I don't see a let up. I'd be shocked if we don't win by at least 15-17 at minimal this weekend.
Yeah. The more we're talking about, this is a nothing spread. It is Saturday night in Tampa. They're going to probably have their biggest crowd. I saw that the reason they're opening the upper deck is not for us Canes fans, even though we're going to be there in droves. They're opening up because it's the biggest student request for tickets. But I have to believe a lot of those people are Miami fans that are going there.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens. I will say this. Last year, Cam Ward, I'm pretty sure, was 3-0 to start the season. And what they finish? Now, I'm not saying this. I'm saying 5-7, right? Isn't that what they finished at Washington State?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, but this team is not last year's team. But what I like about that is Cam knows we were 3-0 last year. And look what happened. I will not let up, and I will not let up my teammates. I think that is as positive as a thing for us going forward. That he experienced 3-0 last year, and the team fell apart. He's not going to let it happen because it happened to him last year. That's my belief.
Oh, I'm sure he's telling them that in meetings and, in the locker room. I'm sure he's going to tell them that before the game.
Well, and the Canes were 4-0. We were 4-0, right?
Remember,
we were 4 and 99/100th.
Cam could have picked any school, probably other than established QBs that already have a guy to go anywhere in the country. Why did he pick here? Because
exactly,
he visited, he saw what was here. He ain't dumb. He's not going to go to a team that's going to go 4-8 instead of going pro. He knew it.
It goes to that word opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you see in the great old Miami Hurricane teams, and when you hear the interviews from these former players, they talk about the little opportunities that they have either in practice or when that one guy has to rest or gets injured, unfortunately. When it's your opportunity, you understand that you have to make the best of it because that guy right behind you is probably going to take your spot if you slip up at all. And what you're seeing throughout this football team is the opportunity that every single player at every position group is taking upon themselves to show the development and see it on the football field, and the points and this is showing on the scoreboard. We talk about, Alabama not having their tackles for the South Florida game. Well, guess what? We're on the opposite end. We're getting our fully healthy offensive line back for this football game. And we still were able to show on the scoreboard and the guys that were subbing in to replace these guys in the meantime, there's no let up. There's no drop off. That's what you want to see for a type of championship caliber football team.
No doubt about it. Guys, who do you expect to have a big game? Not named Cam Ward. Who do you expect to make a difference in this game
You
coming
can't
up?
say Cam and you can't say X.
Well, X has been playing phenomenal as well. I mean, he is. I've heard them say, we're trying to get we don't want anyone to have 100 catches, we want everyone to have 50, but X is outdoing himself this year. I mean, both him and George were awesome last game, but
if he keeps this up, he's probably going to be an All-American. And
I
I'm
definitely
not being a
think
Homer
it's got a
fan.
possibility.
He's playing with Cam Ward. He's going to see 8 to 10 targets every single week.
Mm-hmm.
If he keeps playing, if they finish with maybe like one loss or undefeated or whatever, even not, he's playing All-American level football right now. So
he is playing awesome for sure. What has he got? How many catches right now? Only 14 catches actually. You think it, but 4 touchdowns. So
Yeah,
14 for 260.
4 touchdowns. He's never had double-digit touchdowns. So
18, almost 19 yards a catch. And all I remember them saying last year about X is, oh yeah, but he can't get in it. He's not a long ball guy. He can't. I mean, he's almost 20 yards per catch.
Bro, that
people got to complain about something all
of
the
course.
time.
Good point. Good point, Mondo.
Catch short passes, screen passes, deep balls. He blocks like a maniac. He's a leader, a worker. I mean, he does it all.
And they all are. All the receivers are blocking really well. They were talking about that the receivers are, and they made a great point. You go ahead, you catch a ball maybe 4 or 6 times a game. What are you doing the other times you're out there? You're not just a decoy.
Well, I wanted to ask Brad. I'm sorry, Brad. I wanted to ask Brad. He brought it up as far as we have seen some injuries on the offensive line. If he wanted to speak on, the backup old linemen and how they've done, and I think he briefly touched on it, but I'd like to hear what he had to say about the job. I talked about the front 7 on the defensive side of the ball, but if he could just drop some knowledge on the O-line, the backup guys, and the rotating, etc.
I mean, again, you talk about the replacement and the drop-offs. I think a lot of Miami fans were a little bit caught off guard and surprised right from the beginning of the football season when we were opening up in the swamp against Florida, and you had Ryan Rodriguez trying out there right from the beginning, right? And you saw right away that there was no hesitation the way he played. He looked like he belonged out there. And that just goes to credit not only Ryan for sticking his head down and really just taking advantage of every opportunity behind the scenes and really putting in that work, but that also gives credit to the development of Mario, Maribal, Ed Pata, and others. And I mean, we'll talk about recruiting in a second, how that helps. But you talk about, Ryan Rodriguez. You talk about guys like Markel Bell, that even though he has the size and the measurables, you have to be able to put those things together. And he is being able to not only be consistent, but you're able to see that once he makes a mistake once or twice, those aren't the same mistakes that are being brought up every single time. And then again, Inez Cooper, gets a little banged up, nothing serious. And there again, next guy comes in, no drop off. McCoy is honestly performing extremely well. And I think you got to give huge kudos to Zach Carpenter, right? The difference we saw Matt Lee make, as unfortunately how our record went, and there was only a few bright spots on that football team last year that you could just turn on the tape. Matt Lee was definitely one of them. And just as good as he was on the football field, we understood the culture and how he prepared himself on and off the football field and how it kind of echoed throughout who was around him and how much that meant to this football team. Zach Carpenter, I mean, you're not missing a beat with Zach Carpenter. If anything, from an NFL skill point, he's actually a more prototype center of what you're looking for. And he is, moving extremely well. And I think he's doing a tremendous job as well. So you got to shout out to Zach Carpenter and literally just, the whole O-line as a group, man. We're not having any drop off. It's very similar to the running back room and the wide receiver room. There's multiple bodies that are getting in. You got 7 to 10 guys that already have a lot of snaps. And there isn't, really bad PFF grades if you even want to look at that. But when you really turn on the tape, they're really doing their job. We're not getting hit with a lot of penalties, which is the way you like to see. And again, we're being consistent on all ends. So I love it.
I agree. The discipline is amazing on this team. It's phenomenal. So, Mondo, you asked basically what time it was, and Brad just basically taught us how to build a watch. Does anybody know the offensive line as well as Brad? Seriously, Brad, amazing.
If only he had a little more knowledge on the subject, eh?
I know that. I was a little disappointed in the answer. All right. All right. So Brad's going to take us into something we got a scoop today. Brad says he's going to deliver it here on the CanesWear podcast live. Thank you very much, Kim. We appreciate it.
Thank you, cousin
Brad,
Kim. Thank you.
And we're gonna go. Brad's gonna has got our first tip at recruiting. Brad's gonna go ahead and tip the ice here and tell us some things that a lot of people may not know right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anyone that follows recruiting like myself out here on the CanesWear show, man, we had a big time, commitment, not really commitment, but reclassification earlier today. And Malachi Tony, who was originally a 2026 wide receiver commit in this class. And when you really turn on this kid's film, not only is he in your backyard in South Florida at American Heritage, but he's a gamer. I mean, we talk about how great Xavier Restrepo is, whether it's before or after the catch, and how smart he is on and off the football field, his grit, his tenacity, his work ethic. And then we talk about the speed that a guy like Jacoby George has. A guy, Malachi Tony, literally has all those things in one. And this is a guy that could go anywhere in the country, Ohio State, Florida State, etc. And he jumped in the boat early. And not only did he jump in the boat early, but he stayed committed into this class. And now you're seeing extremely good news to now we currently have 22 commits in this Miami Hurricane class for this 2025 class. You now have 2 wide receivers in this class, now being Malachi Tony, who I just mentioned, reclassified. And you got Dalen Upshaw from Alabama, who has been going to Auburn the past couple weekends. There's been a few interviews out there where it's, it's kind of very similar to any recruitment that you follow in South Florida, right? Even though I'm committed to one school or I'm going there, if there's a good opportunity to just see some good football 10, 20 minutes away from where I'm living, I'm going to go do it if it's paid for, right? And that's exactly what Dalen Upshaw is doing. He's enjoying the recruitment like any high school guy should do. And at the same time, he's staying committed and verbally saying he's committed to Miami. So with those 2 guys committed in the wide receiver room, though, you got to kind of look at it from the outside in, right? We brought up Xavier Restrepo at the slot and how important that is. We lost a guy in Vernell Brown that ended up committing to Florida, which probably is going to stick no matter how bad Florida is, just because he's a Florida legacy guy. You see a guy in Jamie French who stayed committed to Texas, unfortunately had a bad injury in the past couple weeks, may be sidelined the rest of the year. Who knows? So your list of wide receivers is starting to slim down, and you really want to see who's going to jump in the boat next. And that kind of brings me to my next point. You got a guy in Joshua Moore, another guy from backyard in Miami, Palmetto, who's a current Florida commit. We are seeing the debacle in Florida. I'm experiencing it firsthand in my backyard here in Gainesville. This is a Florida program and Billy Napier that is not only 0-3 against his rivals in Miami and Florida, but he's 1-1 against Tennessee, 1-1 against Missouri, 1-1 against A&M, 1-1 against Vandy, 0-1 against Arkansas, 0-2 against Kentucky, 0-2 against LSU and Georgia. So this is a guy where you could pretty much close your eyes, pick a SEC team out of the hat, and he probably hasn't won a game against them. So they have a dumpster fire going on. So expect a lot of flips from Florida. And I think Joshua Moore is going to be a wide receiver that you can really look at. Maybe not now, but I would say in the next few months, really pay attention to Joshua Moore. And the other guy you need to look out for is Tyler Williams, a Central Florida wide receiver. This is a guy that even though he's been with Georgia, Clemson, and others, this is a guy that behind the scenes, Miami has extremely made a #1 priority from the beginning, just like Dallas Wilson, another Central Florida guy from Tampa area, who I'm sure may be at the South Florida game. I think between those 3 names I just said, 2 of those guys need to jump in the boat, before this season ends, because with X gone, you look at that slot room, you only got Ray and maybe Shamar Kirk, because Nikar and JoJo are going to be playing more outside. So you need more guys to fill that role, and look for those names as well.
Great points, Brad. Thank you. That was a lot of information. So the one thing about recruiting that I'm always, concerned about now is you need the recruits and then you need the transfer portal. So with the way the transfer portal is, guys come, you recruit them. We're recruiting guys from 2026 class, 2027 class, and if they don't start, not everybody is going to buy into the culture. It doesn't matter if you're Alabama or whoever it is, they want to play. So if they're not playing much the first year, they're out of there. So what percentage do you think now in building a team is recruiting versus transfer portal? And obviously you have to do everything, but do you think transfer portal has overcome recruiting right now as more important to a team?
I would say in a perfect world, you want about 30 to 35% transfer portal guys. Mm-hmm. More than 50% needs to be guys that you have proven you've bought into the system and you can show the development. Not only does that help with your future recruiting, but you see right away how quickly you could be at the up and how quickly you could be at the down and how long it took to be at the up. Florida State is a perfect example. We talk about what Mario has done in just year 3 at this program. It took Mike Norvell year 4, year 5 to get where they were last year, which is almost at the peak. Not quite there. They were still on the outside looking in. And you saw how quickly the roller coaster went down for them this past year. And a lot of that has to do with not being able to recruit and develop guys within the program. Mike Norvell is one of those coaches that really relies the majority on transfer portal guys. And with the transfer portal, if your hit ratio is not at least 60, 70%, you're going to be hurting very quick. And Miami saw that last year and the year prior where our hit and miss ratio, unfortunately, was on the opposite end. Well, this year, your hit ratio is about 80, 90%, and you're seeing it pay dividends along with all the guys that you've recruited and developed. Because, again, with Mario Cristobal and this staff, you're going to be in the top 10 recruiting every single year, and it's only going to get better as you produce football games and win.
Yeah. The more you win, the better recruiting is going to get.
Absolutely. Awesome.
I say 70-30 on that, Brad. Yeah, 70 high school recruiting and then 30% just to fill the holes where you need people.
Absolutely. When you get a transfer portal for more than 1 year, it's even better, obviously. But no matter what you get them for, it's great to fill the gaps. You're right. We didn't have that opportunity before. Now we do. So, no, it's good stuff, Brad. Thank you. That's the first episode of the episode within the episode, Mondo. Okay, of Brad Recruiting 101 on the CanesWear podcast. Congratulations. You guys were here to witness it. Okay, we're going to have lots of that.
It was a glorious 12 minutes, I will say.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
He knows
and
his
nobody
stuff,
heard
man.
every
He
stuff.
knows his stuff.
Appreciate it.
I can listen.
He does. He does. I swear he's got a teleprompter over there.
I can listen to that all day long.
Or he's got something in his ear and they're talking to him. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Not that much information.
He's like, what was that, Joe? I didn't hear you. What?
I know that. So it's awesome stuff. For the CanesWear podcast.
That boy good. That boy good.
So he is. So guys, we got USF, our pro teams. Hopefully we'll fare better this week. The Dolphins got Seattle this week with no Tua. Hopefully they can bounce back with Skylar Thompson. Who do the Cowboys and the Eagles have?
Cowboys got a home game against the Ravens.
Yeah,
okay, that's going to be a tough
they're
one.
too, so they're going to come in here and they're wanting to kill us. So
yeah, that'll be a tough one.
That'll be a tough one. And the Eagles got the Saints, and I never would have thought I'd say this before the season. And after, I keep it real. Watching the Eagles yesterday, they can't stop the run. Their front four has you don't just count sacks, but their front four has 0 sacks through 2 games. They put no pressure on the quarterback. Bijan Robinson's a beast, but you saw him run through them. Now you got to face what they have a new OC. I think he's Kubiak's son. It's his first
I saw about that. Yeah, the whole lot.
I watched that whole Cowboy game. He had the Cowboys, Mike Zimmer in knots.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Cowboys played the Browns the week before, and the Browns were without their 2 tackles, but still the Cowboys look nasty on defense.
The Cowboys look so unbelievable, and Brad said it. He said, I know no matter how good we play the playoffs, we're going to implode. He didn't think it would happen in the second week.
No, but let me tell you.
I also was the only one that said that the Bills would beat the.
He said the Bills would be. The Bills definitely
are another team that surprised me. The Bills.
I'll say the New Orleans Saints. My buddy Clark said, he loved them at the beginning of the season. Derek Carr 150-1 before the season to win the MVP.
He looks really comfortable in the
He looks comfortable this year.
He looks good.
I know it's only 2 games, but I think the Saints in those 2 games have the best offense in the NFL.
They're looking phenomenal. They're looking phenomenal. They were heavy dogs against the Cowboys.
Not just Carr, their offensive line was pushed. The Cowboys got a really good D line for the most part, and the Saints were pushing them back like all game long.
Alvin Kamara, freaking that dude is just
except for
he's had a phenomenal year so far. I mean, it's
early though.
It's early, but he's looking like the old Kamara.
Yeah, he does because he was amazing. Then he just disappeared, and I can't believe that because running backs, as we know, it's like they just fall apart. I mean, they get beat up, and that is one vicious game. So, one other NFL question: Bryce Young is on the outs right now in Carolina, talking about the Dolphins getting. I don't know, but I mean, there's another quarterback that was rushed into action. Granted, he's very small, rushed into action, and just fails miserably, which is happening to very few quarterbacks. I mean, you're not going to get the Houston situation, which they got with Stroud. You're going to get guys that just don't make it. They implode. Most quarterbacks implode right away. and just another guy. They draft him, they pay him all this money, and it just you put him behind a bad team. Now, is he bad or is the team just so bad?
Well,
That's our boy Dan Morgan, who's the general manager, so we got to be nice here.
Chris Collinsworth made a great point on the Sunday game with Caleb Williams of the Bears against the Texans. He was like, give Caleb Williams, people are going crazy after 1 game, 2 games. You got to give Caleb Williams time. He made a few throws, but remember, this kid probably his whole life was the best athlete on the field. He steps into the NFL week 1, you're no longer the best athlete on the field. You're playing against 30, 40 guys that are
defensive linemen are faster than you and running you down and all that stuff.
And if you look at Caleb, he's got a great arm. A lot of his stuff is improv, but I honestly didn't think Stroud would be this good.
Oh,
he was good from the jump. He's not good. He's great. Like
he's amazing. That team. That's a team that I was really surprised that they didn't blow out. Who they play at? They were 6 points of the Bears. I thought they'd blow out the Bears.
The Bears are
really surprised.
The Bears play defense, but
their defense is looking good.
Yeah,
the quarterback, and that just goes to show you that. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. They had a chance to get Stroud. Somebody in the Carolina organization, I heard it was the owner, really liked Young or whatever, and not to say they'd be Stroud. You missed Stroud. Stroud is a 10 to 15 franchise quarterback. Now you're starting Andy Dalton. In the 3rd week of the season.
My next life will come back as a backup quarterback.
It's a catastrophic pick.
I know this is a kind of touchy subject for the people watching and obviously you, Brett, but talking about backup quarterbacks and kind of where you are in this situation, talking about Tua and the Dolphins right now, right? I want to get y'all's perspective on this because this is just me on the outside looking in. Not just the situation with Tua, who's a quarterback that in the last 5 years, he's had 4 concussions, right? So that's already pretty alarming, in my opinion, right? But when you look at just him, his culture, his family, this is a family that is all about football. They are 100% bought in. I mean, they moved to South Florida to be a part of this. And I think when you look at football, you get paid a lot of money to do this job. And even though from the outside looking in of whether you're a doctor or just looking out for someone's harm, you would really think like, this could be a situation where maybe you should walk away from the game. But at the flip side, this also takes care of not only your kids, but your grandkids and their kids, and also your parents, right? And just having a family like Tua's, I don't see not only him and his mindset, but as a family, them walking away from this, even though, this is $93 million that guaranteed the next, 2 years, even if he does walk away from this situation. But what I want to ask you guys is, it is unfortunate that he got hurt, and you got a backup quarterback in Skylar Thompson who honestly just looks lost and doesn't look like he has any control personally in the offense. But Chris Grier, in my opinion, has a lot to do with this because I feel like he's had a lot of missed opportunities in past drafts later in rounds to really have these situations at end where maybe you could have had a Tyson Bagent on this roster, a couple of years ago. Maybe you could have been in a better situation to maybe get a Kyle Trask or have, room to maybe possibly trade for a Baker Mayfield or Geno a couple of years ago and not really have to worry in this situation. Now, as a Dolphin fan, you're kind of hoping you tank all year and you get Cam Ward or someone else. What is y'all's thoughts on that? Just overall, not only with Tua and his situation, but also with Chris Grier and just the franchise as a whole and where they're at now.
I think as a Dolphin fan, when Tua went, Tua's, I don't think he's retiring. Okay. He's got a great family. They come to the store, wonderful people and everything like that. Very, but I think health is number one. The guy's set for life no matter what. We all should be so lucky. The amount of money. So if he's told he couldn't play, he'd get $160 million. But he's going to play because he can play. In 4 weeks, they say he's coming back. I think the biggest problem, and I don't have a problem if Tua plays. It's just I don't understand why he went into why he did what he did with Hamlin. I understand after that 3-interception game, especially that one that he threw out of bounds and it was a pick 6. I think he was trying to make up for it. Obviously, everybody says he could have slid, but if he slides and he's a foot short, he doesn't know where he's out on the field exactly. He's running for his life. And he decides to go, okay, let me take on the one guy that also had a concussion, almost got killed on the field, which was kind of ironic if you think about it. So in DeMar Hamlin. But if he slides and he's a foot short, everyone's going to be yelling at him. I saw TJ Watt talking about it 100%. So he goes ahead, does the play, gets hit. He's out of the game. I'm okay. I'm confident in Skylar Thompson. I really am. We almost won the playoff game against Buffalo a couple of years ago. We had the lead until the last drive, and our whole team was decimated. I think when the kid gets in there, he's going to be fine. I really do. I think we can beat Seattle. That being said, what I believe a general manager should do every year, Don Shula used to do it. Other coaches have done it. Bill Belichick was great at it. Draft another quarterback. Every draft. I don't care. It's the most important position in the game. It's the most important position in all of sports, right? The quarterback. So take a guy in the 6th or 7th round. So we're going to miss on this 5th linebacker or something like that, or take a quarterback. You never know who's going to be the guy. You never look at San Francisco, last pick of the draft. I mean, they get Mr. Irrelevant. He's their starting quarterback. Tom Brady, the 6th round. It's take a quarterback 6th, 7th round. That's where Skylar came in the 7th round. So grab somebody. Makes no sense whatsoever that these guys don't draft quarterbacks more often. That's my opinion. And I blame Greer for that one. But secondly, last thing, they could add Fields. They could add Howell. Both of them weren't really cheap. I think McDaniel's fault, in my opinion, Dolphin fans, okay, more than Chris Greer's, he didn't want to go ahead and get too upset. He didn't want to say, we're bringing in anybody else. So I think McDaniel tries to take care of Tua too much that he goes ahead and, he watches over Tua, and that's been the detriment of the team. That's the big problem, that McDaniel is so close to Tua that he didn't draft another quarterback. He didn't look for Fields as a backup. He didn't look for Howell, who I think is going to be excellent in Seattle. And Fields is now the starter again, and I think Wilson's ready to go. So absolutely no sense not to grab those guys with 6th and 7th round draft picks. That's on Mike McDaniel, I believe. And I love Mike McDaniel. That's my take. What's yours?
Yeah, great points on Greer. I want to speak on Tua. Immediately after the play, of course, the instant reaction all over the place was, he should retire. Well, it's already been announced that he's not going to retire. Why? Because that's who he is. He's a football player. Mm-hmm. It's the reason that boxers stick around till they're 35, 40, 45. It's like right now, which I just thought of this right now. It's like if somebody told you 3 guys right now, hey, you cannot watch one more Canes game all year or talk about it for the rest of the season. That's what Tua is. It's easy for me to sit here in my backyard and say Tua's got so-and-so kids, he should quit. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. He's a football player. Mm-hmm. You think that, it's tough to say, and of course there's been movies about concussions and this and that, but he's in his early to mid-20s. That man's not retiring unless one of those neurologists that he meets with this week or a few days or whatnot tells him, look, my man, you just should not. And at that point, then yes.
One more.
But if it's of his thinking that he's going to retire.
Correct. That's their life.
That's
their life. They come back. Sugar Ray Leonard. all these coaches that come back. They can't do anything else but what they're doing. That's all they've been doing since they're little kids.
There's nothing. I've heard them say it time and time again. There's nothing like the rush of being a pro athlete.
Correct.
Hearing the crowd, making the play. The guy, he was on, I don't even know what show he was on this week, a former NFL guy, Emmanuel Sanders. He made a great point, which I didn't even think about. He's like, do you really think that that's what Tua wants to go out his last ever play of his life playing football? Is that play? He's not. He's going to come back. Now, I don't want him to come back as a fan 3 weeks from now. He should be out for a while because now you're talking about life and death type stuff. But in 6 to 8 weeks, I see him back. This season, I see him back.
Yeah.
For a PR perspective, the Dolphins are not going to rush him back. Even if he's ready in 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
I think they said,
and that's why he's already out for 4 weeks.
Why aren't they wearing that extra padding on the helmet that they're wearing? I know it doesn't look as good, but they can probably paint it.
So it's optional, I believe. It is optional.
Yeah, you're talking about the Mark Kelso double helmet.
Yeah, you've got that thing on you. I don't know. Does it help you?
Steve Tasker. What is his name?
I don't know. So it is optional. I didn't know it was optional. So they wear it for practice stuff.
As a football fan, Tua took a lot of crap, and it was great to see him play every single game last year. It's just a fluke thing. A regular tackle by Hamlin. It wasn't dirty. Tua hit him right here, vice versa. It was immediately you saw him go down, and the fingers. It was scary. You saw even Buffalo players spoke about it post game. They were like, I was terrified. They were freaked out. Like there was an interview. I forgot his name. Who it was. One of the players was almost in tears on the Buffalo sideline.
No, you see what kind of a tight-knit community it is when they talk about players. They all know that they go out there and fans give them hell. College players, other college, they go out there. They Yeah, they go out there. What's it, Willis too? They go out there, and it's like you never know what's going to happen to these. And the fans just beat them up. And you're right. That gentleman just said, I said, players go out. He said, well, Willis, Luke, they do. They leave. It's better to, you know what? Everybody though can play Monday morning quarterback, us included. It's like, okay, if they don't, if the guys have died, it can't happen. It may not die in the field, but you'll die a result of the field. That's
that comment I just saw there. It's a good point. Like not everybody's different. When Andrew Luck left, he was in a preseason game, I think. He just walked off the field. Everybody was like, what?
Exactly.
Patrick Willis played 8 years, made the Hall of Fame. I think he had a few injuries, but look at this week in the NFL. Pacheco broke his leg on Sunday. I mean, you see guys play with broken hands.
Calvin Johnson walked away from the game.
Barry
Sanders walked away from the game. I mean, they had great careers, but Calvin Johnson was in the middle of a career. He could have had twice as many. But you're right. Guys do retire. They say enough is enough. Plenty of guys have. Channing Crowder is in. He walked away. So many guys do walk away. You're right. Not too many guys in their early 20s walk away, but it's a. You're right. It's a dangerous game.
And
you can't blame somebody for walking away.
NFL Network has a few offensive linemen on their show that broadcast. You should see their fingers when they're talking. Like some of the fingers are pointing to the left and to the right.
Exactly.
That sport is really. I don't got to tell you guys. That sport is brutal.
So just health-wise, one last thing I got here is the dynamic kickoff. Okay, college football with the kickoff is the dynamic kickoff. I've got an idea to change everything. I hate not having the onside kick. I can't stand not having the onside kick. Okay, so I've got an idea how to beat it. Okay, all right. So, but what do you guys think about that dynamic kickoff? Before I give you the idea that the NFL is going to run with,
it's not. I don't like it at all. It's not. That's football. We've been watching football forever like this. I mean, I get it, this stuff, but I mean, I don't like it.
Yeah, to prevent injuries, of course.
Yeah, they want to eliminate the kickoff from the league, basically. So I watched the game last night or whatever. Out of 10 kickoffs, 9 are reaching the end zone. Nobody's been bringing them out anymore. Yeah. So they want to eliminate injuries, eliminate that play.
They want to eliminate that guy running 50 yards straight into somebody. So this they think you can't get us hurt. But Brad, you got anything on it? And I'm gonna.
No, I don't like not having the onside kick.
Here's what they should do. Because the biggest thing is the onside kick, I think. A lot of times, in the Bear game, for example, the Bears possibly would have gone for an onside kick. Other teams. So what you do is now we set up. Everybody starts where the kicker does. Okay, where's that? About the 30-yard line. But so that they run as fast as they can. They run with it. So if it's an onside kick, you got to be ready. All right. So yes, you have to have the onside kick. I mean, that's one of the most exciting plays in sports. And listen, we get the ball. We either kick a field goal now, or we need 2 scores anyway. Let's kick a field, kick the onside kick. So they go ahead. Everybody runs from where the kickoff is. But at the 40-yard line, if they want to stop. You got to stop at the 40 and wait for the guy to catch the ball. Once the guy catches the ball, then you start running again. You guys got that, Mondo? You got that?
I thought you were going to come up with bring back He Hate Me from the XFL or something like that.
This is awesome. I want that onside kick.
Hey, I love the NFL. I really do. But I still like college football better. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Which is good.
The atmosphere is better. The tailgates are better. The fans, to me, are better. The kids are into it more. They're trying to make that money and get to that next level. So to me, and everyone up here thinks I'm crazy. They're like, no one like
the Northeast is not a big.
Up here, you don't like
the Northeast is not a beacon of college football. That's
exactly.
The South. So
if you don't like Penn State, you don't like college football at all.
There you go. Un-American. So. All right, guys. So great show. Anyone got anything to add? Canes, obviously, we've all got them winning big this week. I'm hopefully going up to Tampa. Brad's going up there, or he's going down actually from Gainesville. Cliff, you coming to a game soon?
Going to Florida State, and I'm trying to go to Duke the week after, and then I'll be up here for the Syracuse game.
Oh, fantastic! Cool. All right, making a late run. You're down here for Virginia Tech, Brad, right?
Yep, I'm in there.
Friday night game. We'll see if that's going to be a blackout. Florida State is wearing orange. Guys, thank you very much. This crew is phenomenal. You guys, Brad, Uncle Cliff, Mondo, thank you so much for being on the CanesWear podcast. Remember, CanesWear.com. Come to our store. Tons of Adidas, tons of other things coming. All your favorite South Florida teams there. Bobby with FTSN, thank you for giving us this opportunity. You're amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bobby. And that's it. I guess you're out. Okay, guys,
Thanks, Bob.
thank you very much.